Hi, for today's teardown on test this VB5-7 Soviet bench lab power supply. So this particular one was made in 1978 and is written in German. It came from former East Germany. I got it on eBay for 70 euros. Not a bad deal, except it was a little bit damaged in shipping. Actually, it did receive a shock over this button. The button broke, but it is not all. You will see damage inside on the wafer switch, which I did manage to reglue. Apparently it is working, but I should need to replace the wafers or find a spare front panel maybe with the switch. So how it works, pretty straightforward actually. You have mains power switch here with mains neon light, overload light, voltmeter, two outputs, ground, some kind of handle here, and a voltage selector switch, course one in steps of 3 volts up to 27, and on this you will add this fine one. You can tune the potentiometer up to 3 volts, so it will go up to 30 volts, and it is given for 3 amperes. So here is what we have on the front side, a little voltmeter here to monitor. It is actually the big sister of this power supply I had for a long time and I've been using a lot. The no model written on this one. No, it is a French rebrand and no model number. This one is just 1 ampere. You can see the same voltmeter at least, except it will not go. It will go only to 15 volts. This one, but nice upgrade for me. Okay, we will check what we have at the back. But first, if I turn it around, you can see, yes, it is pretty deep, something like 40 centimeters. So really not something small. Also, the center of gravity is very much at the front because the transformer is located here. On the back, so for now it is the original mains cable. I will probably replace it. I had to do something here because it was not secured very well. So just serial number 2515. Fuse in the regular flower shape bakelite holder, and structural frame made of die-cast aluminium. So very sturdy construction at this level. It is really sad for the shipping damage, by the way. And on the bottom, plastic fit with which are doubled by die-cast metal frame here, which can be used as fit also, but it is quite weird, this thing actually. Or it is just a reinforcement. You can see it is 2 of them actually, and there is a built-in stand, or maybe also at the same time carry handle here. You can store like this. Okay, venting holes everywhere. And we can see inside not much. Big green transformer here, and apparently a big heatsink here. And on the top, a bunch of very dusty capacitors. So let's test it. So we will just test the output voltage. I did already test under load for ripple and with an oscilloscope, and really it seems doing quite well. So we are here at the 0. It will go down to 170 millivolts. If I cramp to 3, yes, 308, not bad. 6 is pretty much spot on. 9, I can always adjust a little bit here. 12. Yes, each time you need to adjust a little bit, but really not bad. Up to almost 30 volts if you want. So will be quite convenient for me. One thing with the overload, it will reset only when you cut the power apparently. And you can see voltage decreasing slowly. I believe we have draining resistors for the bank of capacitors anyway. Okay. So before I open it, a quick look at the schematic, if you want. Where is it? Here. So I will link the Russian website where you have the schematic available. Apparently, mains input with a switch on the mains light, mains capacitor. Oh, oops. Transformer, I mean, with one switch here to select the tap you will connect to, then bridge rectifier, circuit board with voltage regulation, bank of power transistors. I believe the main bank of capacitors is actually here, on another switch here with a voltage divider with resistors to select your voltage. So pretty straightforward, really, but quite efficient and still working perfectly well, except for the shipping damage. So let me first, safety first, remove the mains. So I will eventually replace this mains cable with a proper cable gland and everything, but for now it is a quite light use I will have with it, so I guess it will be good for now. It will not remain connected in permanence. Anyway, only when needed though. So okay, so to open it we have slotted screws, of course, as it is Soviet stuff. At the back here, one with a provision for a factory seal, which is not installed anymore. Well, it is not enough, you have to undo also the two screws at the front, which will allow you to pull gently the very light contents out of the case. Actually, could be worse, but as you can see, still quite something. Okay. The case itself, some broken bits here from the wafer switch. Hopefully it is not used one. You can see it was not soldered. So this is really a concern. I will have to do something, I believe. It is really sad. So you can see inside this case, first a lot of dust. Here at the bottom, where I'll show you like this, and two rails that will allow the power supply to slide in. So quite nice. I will clean it a little bit more before reassemblage. Okay, so first look inside for you. I believe, put the camera overhead, and we are able to check out what is going on. So in no particular order, we will start from the top. You can see a pretty dusty bank of capacitors. I will definitely clean it a little bit before I close the power supply. Little bit of vacuum cleaning on the brush maybe. A lot of dust. 3 big power resistors here. Our main wafer switch with, you can see the clipping damage. I did reglue it. Apparently it is working, it is in a line. And here also. So I managed to repair it. So it is good, but still annoying. I believe this is a regular off-the-shelf part, so maybe I could find new stock ones. I will take photos of it. It is a free attachment point thing apparently, with a number of contacts. I will need to count them if they are not numbered, and try to see on eBay if I can maybe find replacement units. Then it will be some work, but probably doable. Take apart everything, retrieve those resistors here, do the same wiring, then here, and reinstall the new wafers. Quite annoying, but it is what it is. Our main transformer here, the main weight of the device. Ready? Some, yes, the main bridge rectifier here, you can see. Not joking around here. Big metal diodes, D221. Okay. Other side here, just the switch, the lights, like this, little bit weird in some kind of a rubber retainer. More test, and your voltage adjustment potentiometer made in ceramic here, your pots, and the voltmeter, of course. You can see one unpopulated transistor here. So each side we have a heatsink with P217 transistors and P215 here. Here, same thing, really. And between them, the circuit board with the voltage stabilizer circuitry, and here apparently the mains input capacitors. Yes, 3 sealed glass insulated capacitors, so quite good stuff. I will try to extract this board for you. Make sure it is unplugged maybe. Good idea. And then I will try to flip this PCB out of the way and show you, well, the heatsink really, and show you the main PCB. So what do we have on here? I guess there is another wire at the back. So no lock here. I will reinstall this. So if I want to change my mains cable, I have one wire here, the ground here, and the other one going, yes, to the fuse actually here at the back, so it will require to unscrew the whole rear panel, I believe, but doable, and probably if I do it I will install a proper cable retainer here, because this is not very good, as you can see. Well, it works, but I could do better, even if I need to enlarge a little bit the hole here, but it will be only if I plan to replace the wafer switch, if I find replacement parts. Okay, now to access our main circuit board, a bunch of screws apparently securing this heatsink, and then it should flip out of the way. So quite a good little power supply. I have been looking for one like this for a long time actually, and they are quite rare by now. Most of them probably in the scrap, sadly enough. Okay, so we should be good. We are good. Wow. More cleaning to do. Look at this. So the rear side here of this heatsink, nothing particular, just wires going to the actual transistors, one terminal strip here. For factory purpose probably, they assemble this part and then they connect it to the main wire loom. Here we have the whole bunch of capacitors, you can see. Will require some additional cleaning. Well, the bottom side is quite clean. And here our circuit board. So we have one adjustment here and one here. Okay, a bunch of metal can diodes. I can see two quite crusty resistors here, by the way. Air free in the schematic. Where is air free? Air 2, air free. Okay. I have the values on the website. I just found the values of the resistors, so I can always replace them, but they are working as the power supply is working. Relay here. That is actually this. So maybe the power supply will not kick immediately. There is some checkout that is done, and there is a safety feature or something like this. And the whole circuitry with no op-amps, just transistors, you can see. Okay. Conformal coating. And it is actually all. There is an extra slot here because there is another model with more electronics apparently. I did see already a the video on YouTube of them, and there is a shielding module here. Optionally 100 ohm. This one is a really nice resistor, not your current regular model, you can see. Wow. So this is something fancy. 1 watt. Very old school. Capacitor here. Reed switch relay. And it is all. Metal frame here everywhere, and some kind of fiberglass phenolic board. Here you can see it is actually yes, fiberglass material in resin, quite common in Soviet equipment. Okay, so it will definitely need some vacuum cleaner action, but quite a nice unit to have when your previous power supply does not go high enough in voltage. And quite a bit of weight in this heatsink, really. Okay, you can see the construction, just metal rods here in aluminium, front and back plate, and structural plates here. Nothing fancy, but it works. So, thanks for watching, bye bye.